kinds of chance contacts and by various movements occurring in the atmosphere. But, unforeseen by nature, the clothing which people have invented for themselves prevent the said factors from freely affecting the separation and volatilization of these substances, with the result that this kulnabo, remaining for a long time on these places, promotes the arising of perspiration. Moreover, as this substance is in general the very best medium for the multiplication of what are called bacteria, which exist in the atmosphere, as well as in what are called the subjective spheres of all kinds of things coming into direct contact with the children, there occurs from this multiplying there on the given parts of the organism of children a process called itching. On account of this itching, children begin, unconsciously at first, to rub or scratch these places. Later, as there are concentrated in these parts of the organism all the ends of the nerves created by nature for the special sensations required for the completion of the sacred process al-mu'ano, which normally arises in adult people at the end of what is called copulation, and as especially at a certain period when, according to the providence of great nature, there proceeds in these organs of children a process of preparation for future sex functioning, they experience from this rubbing or scratching a certain peculiar pleasant sensation. They therefore begin intentionally, having instinctively realized from which of their actions this pleasant sensation is evoked in them, to rub these places even when there's no itching. And thus the ranks of the little mordortenists on the earth are always increasing by leaps and bounds. As regards just what measures the great Moses took for eradicating that evil, I learned not from the aforementioned book Tukates Nalulpan, but from the contents of an also very ancient papyrus. From the contents of this papyrus it could be clearly seen that the great Moses gave practical effect to the thoughts set down on this question in the book Tukates Nalulpan, by creating for his people those two religious rites, one of which is called Sikt Ner Chorn and the other Zel Putzkan. The sacred Sikt Ner Chorn was especially created for boys, and the sacred Zel Putzkan for girls, and they were to be obligatorily performed on all children of both sexes. The rite of Sikt Ner Chorn, for instance, was identical with your Suniat. By cutting what is called the Vodiano, or the frenum penis of boys, the connection is severed between the head and the skin covering it, and thus there is obtained the free movement of this skin, or as it is called, prepus penis. According to the information which has come down to us from ancient times, and also according to our own common sense, it is plain that the great Moses, who, as we learn from another source, was a very great authority on medicine, wished by this means to secure that the totality of substances accumulating in the said places might of itself be mechanically removed owing to all kinds of accidental contact, and thus cease to become a factor for the arising of the mentioned maleficent itching. Concerning the vast learning of the great Moses in the province of medicine, many diverse historical sources agree that he obtained his medical knowledge during his stay in Egypt as a pupil of the Egyptian high priests, to whom this knowledge had come down from their ancestors of the continent Atlantis. The first and last genuinely learned beings of the earth, the members of the society then called Akaldan. The beneficial results of the customs then created by the great Moses even now continue to be fairly visible in practice. Concerning, for instance, the custom of circumcision in particular, I, being a good diagnostician, and able to tell from one glance at a man's face what disharmony he has in his organism, can safely say that this terrible children's disease of onanism is scarcely ever found among those children upon whom this rite has been performed, whereas the children of those parents who fail to observe this custom are almost all subject to it. The exceptions, in this respect, are only the children of those parents who are indeed cultured in the full sense of the word and who clearly understand that the future normal mentation of their children depends exclusively upon whether they do or do not contract this disease in their childhood or youth. Such cultured parents know very well that if even once the sensation of the climax of what is called the Uamong-Vanosinian process occurs in what is called the nervous system of their children before they reach majority, they will already never have the full possibility of normal mentation when they become adult, and hence it is that such cultured parents always consider it their first and chief duty toward their children to educate them in this respect. Unlike most contemporary parents, they do not consider that the education of the children consists in badgering them to learn by rote as much poetry as possible, composed by Mordortenist psychopaths, or in teaching them to click their heels well before their acquaintances, in which accomplishments, according to the notions of people of recent times, the whole education of children unfortunately consists. And so, my dear friend, and though very depraved, yet nevertheless sympathetic young man, these two rites were created by the great Moses and introduced then into the ordinary life of the Judaic people in order to counteract that maleficent invention of clothes, thanks to which those factors were destroyed which were provided by nature for the protection of these organs from the harmful action of the substances given off by them. And these two rites were transmitted from generation to generation, both to the followers of this Judaic religion themselves, as well as to others who took over these useful rites almost unchanged. And it was only after the death of the great King Solomon that the rite Tzel Putzkan ceased for some reason or other to be performed even by the followers of this Judaic religion, and only the rite Sikt Ner Chorn automatically continued to be performed and reached the contemporary representatives of that race. And this custom, together with many other ancient Judaic customs, also reached the followers of the Christian religion, who at first observed it very strictly in their everyday life, but very soon both this custom itself and even the information about its adoption among them similarly quickly disappeared from among the followers of this then still new religion. Yes, my dear friend, if only the teaching of the divine Jesus Christ were carried out in full conformity with its original, then the religion, unprecedentedly wisely founded on it, would not only be the best of all existing religions, but even of all religions which may arise and exist in the future. Except for the custom of polygamy, there is nothing in the Mohammedan religion which was not also in the Judaic as well as in the Christian teachings. The custom of polygamy, established on the basis of the scientific deductions of the then famous Arabian learned being Nazulan el-Aul, was introduced into the